I think along those lines, of course, we talked about Dennis's tech ability, but we do have sort of very varied backgrounds.
Yeah.
Because my own training was in the classical area, and my training is more as a cellist, although I did grow up doing some singing, and I sing a little bit when I need to and when I have to. A lot of that came from our own background, as my own family background. We have a sort of a cool family history, because my parents both had contacts with the Von Trapp family singers, who were the family that was immortalized by the Sound of Music. And they were a real family, and they actually settled in Vermont, and they during the last days of their career, they had a music camp.
Well, they were a singing family.
They were a singing family, yeah, and they survived as a singing family. They didn't sing pop, or they didn't sing musical theater stuff, but they sang classical music and arrangements of folk music. And during their last years in the early 50s, the group was falling apart because the kids were older and getting married. And so they brought in some extra singers. And my dad, who had just finished college, not as a musician, but having some musical training, wound up sort of running into their lodge, and he joined the group during their last couple of years. And my mom, whose family enjoyed music, they attended the music camps. And so the music camps that the Von Trapps had during the summers. So that's where my parents met. So it was sort of a very special time for them, or a very, music meant a lot to them, not only because of what music itself was, but because it was part of their relationship and part of a sort of very, very spiritual environment. The Von Trapps were very, very spiritual people, and my parents were sort of engulfed in not only in that musical appreciation, but also the spiritual background behind it. So that sort of became a very strong part of my heritage. And we grew up in our family with my parents also making music as a family. We would sing and play instruments, and that was sort of part of that legacy. So of course, when I met Angela, who has a different musical background, we sort of blended those musical backgrounds together and did a little bit of the same thing with our family, just making music as a family with what each of us brought together. And so Angela's background is a little bit different, and I'm going to let her maybe tell you a little bit about that.
I would love to hear it, actually. Yeah. So
yeah, Angela, I'm sorry. I guess I managed to twist him little by little towards the popular side of music. Because I have, he's very classical, and he has great, I am his #1 fan. He's a great cello player. He's fabulous. And Colombia lost, when we left, Colombians feel like, they lost somebody very, very bright and important. It's like como fuga de cerebro se dice. How do you say that in English?
Like brains that leave the country.
Yeah, like leakage.
Yeah, it's very sad for Colombia, but yeah. So anyway, I have been pushing and pushing since they were little. For example, at Christmas, Dad would prefer to put like choral music and stuff like that, and then I turned my vallenato and made them sing, dance with me. so they have that Colombian side of musical rhythmic aspect. So I'm guilty of it.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Wow. So I love hearing that family history as well, Diego. That's beautiful story about your parents, that they met that way.
Yeah. And it's a really it's a very special heritage.
Yeah. The Von Trapps were your matchmaker, you
Yes,
know?
they,
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, my grandmother always told me that if Maria Von Trapp had not approved,
Yeah.
because she was very controlling, actually, which is, yeah,
Right.
that's actually how she was. She was very like strict and sorry.
And she had
Von Trapps,
very,
I don't want to offend the Von Trapps.
no, but she had,
anyway.
That's actually already widely known. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that what she told me was that she was a very kind of like, she was very Catholic, and like everyone had to do the like she was the one that decided what the right Catholic thing to do was, and if
Right.
you didn't do it the way she thought it was, then you were wrong. Right. So like, so she said that Maria Von Trapp had not approved of like my grandfather pursuing my grandmother, then it probably wouldn't have happened.
yeah.
So we wouldn't be here. So thank
Yeah.
you, Maria.
Sarabandi would not exist.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That would be sad.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Maria Von Trapp. The
That's
hills are
right.
still alive with the sound of music. Thank you very much.